Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ventures Podcast. I'm excited to share this conversation with Alex Shalash with you. He is the co-founder and co-CEO of MetaEngine, and they are providing an infrastructure for anyone who's building metaverses to be able to have the technology available to interoperate with lots of other metaverses out there. And it's an engine that is highly compelling. So along the way in this conversation, we talk about ChatGPT, which is all the rage the last week. We talk about GTP4, how these new AI, our new AI overlords are going to be present and what the implications are in different metaverse spaces and sort of Web3 in general. So if you're listening to this conversation, you can also watch by visiting wclittle.com. There I'll have more extensive show notes, different links to the things that we talk about today. And if you're watching, you can also listen anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can search for Ventures, and it should show up. So with that, please enjoy this conversation with Alex Shalash. All right, Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. There's a lot going on. Metaverse world, Web3. It's definitely been an exciting year. Exciting in quotation marks. Love to start out. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into Web3.
Yeah, it has been a roller coaster, right? First, huge excitement a year ago, then kind of wobbling around, and then a big disappointment with some news from the market. But yeah, so where do I come from, and how I got to Web3? I have been for the last 12 years have been involved on the game development infrastructure side with a company called Idea Fabric. We developed and owned a game development engine for massively multiplayer online games. And about a little over a year ago, in the summer last year, we started seeing a lot of projects being funded on the Metaverse side, and lots of GameFi projects and so on. So we got really curious, what kind of technology are they using? Because when you say Metaverse, is in our understanding, Metaverse is really all about scale. Yeah. Massive multi-user, massive multi-developer, also huge in scale, multiple experiences, and so on. We see that as kind of a huge collection of massively participatory experiences. And majority of the projects that we have seen were relatively limited in both in scale, in scope, in number of players, and also they even limited themselves to a smaller map. So they would have limited number of plots. So that would, on one side, would be good for the real, virtual real estate economy, but it would not allow for that, grand expansion, right, in general of the space. So what we ended up with is at the end of last year, we came into Web3 market by saying, look, there are professional technologies that are being used in traditional game development. Let us bring those technologies into the Web3 space and help Web3 experiences and game developers to create much more interesting, highly scalable types of experiences. So that's how we started about a year ago.
Cool. Yeah, I recently read Matthew Ball's book on the Metaverse. He paints a pretty interesting picture of how hard it is because we're limited by the speed of light, we're limited by computation, we're limited by all kinds of connectivity issues, we're limited by interoperability issues in terms of coming to standards, all the sort of business incentives, et cetera, around that. How do you think about when somebody casually on the street says, "Hey, Alex, when are we going to have the metaverse, like Ready Player One or Snow Crash or any of those?" I recently read Snow Crash too, which was interesting. Kind of late to the game on that one. When do you say? When do you say? How do you answer that question?
I answer that question by saying, do not expect it to be here soon. Right. It's going to take years to develop. Yeah. And especially because of those challenges that you just mentioned, that Matthew is communicating through both his strategy work and also in his book. I actually subscribe strongly to his definition of metaverse, not many other definitions. So I do believe this is, when you look at if you break down his definition of what metaverse is in his view, it really fits with that massively scalable, massive participation, massive activity, interoperability, and many of those. And when you start ticking those tick boxes, you really understand that that's not a trivial task to resolve, and it's going to take a long time. The one good thing is that we do at MetaEngine, we do have technology that was used already for massively scalable experiences, or games and simulations. So one can reuse some of that technology. One thing that Matthew is not emphasizing a lot is the Web3 directly, the Web3 part of it. He's more focusing on the experience, and what I believe that Metaverse is at MetaEngine we're building that infrastructure for is digital asset ownership, through which we are all going to both participate not only as users, players, but also as part owners of those experiences. So that's kind of part of that Web3 definition, that if one were to add it on top, that's where we come in, because our motto behind the platform and the product is really providing a full infrastructure, a spectrum of all infrastructure pieces that are required for you to build those experiences. And you, if you are a creator, just coming in and do something using those tools.
Got it. Okay. So help us understand where you are in the stack in terms of building, right? I mean, over the summer, I participated in Yuga Labs, other side, the first journey in. I think they used M square technology,
right.
Which I think at least that group is doing. I know at least one other metaverse or something. It seems like they're working on a bunch of different things. But where do you fit in the stack, and who should be building? Like, who should be partnering with you and building with you?
Right. So when you look at, if we take the other side, the M2, that whole basically the group behind this is Improbable, right?
Improbable, right?
Right. So Improbable guys, they try to integrate different engines and provide that unifying platform. It looks to us that they have basically have taken and built plugins into Unreal and Unity in order to enable some of the experiences that need networking, right? So for multiplayer experiences, and this was the other side demo that we have seen, was exactly to highlight those capabilities. The difference, so we are actually sitting we're covering the whole spectrum. So we do have, similarly to Unreal and Unity, we have the rendering engine, which allows you to see what is on the screen, right? We have what the other side is doing, which is the networking, the server infrastructure. We do have a database fully integrated, which allows for real-time development, collaboration, and finally, it will allow also for asset interoperability. And in addition to this, we're building, as I mentioned before, a full stack for Web3 Web3 functionality that would allow for digital asset ownership, decentralized storage, plus also security provided by the blockchain itself.
Are you using Polygon, and are we even others with that? Or are you building your own, or what tech is behind that?
Right. So we are building on Polygon to start with.
Okay, cool.
But the idea is Polygon was one of our seed investors as well in the company. So awesome. We are also building in the future multi-chain support, because we as tool providers cannot really force developers to tell them, look, this blockchain or that blockchain.
Right.
Especially now with so much volatility in that market. It's better to have many of those, at least core blockchain platforms covered. So we cater to as many projects as possible. Yeah,
that's good. Okay, so basically, if I were to have a sizable NFT community, for example, like a comparison to a Yuga,
Yep.
instead of working with Improbable, I'd work with you. Is that essentially because you have more Web3 native built in? Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
It's actually both.
Oh, it's
So
both.
we do have much longer experience on the Web 2 side. There are we at least not publicly known. There are no MMO games built on Improbable's technology. They simply there are none of them are public, although there
Got
were
it.
several projects that were announced. Some of the projects that were built, our original technology, have been running for more than 10 years now as MMO games, right? So we cover the Web 2 side because of that experience, which,
Hmm.
20 years in total, 20 years in the gaming infrastructure. Plus, we are integrating the Web 2, Web 3 features that allow for basically building a broader architecture that you can rely on as a creator to build your product.
So as a creator, am I still writing in C# or C++, with Unreal and Unity type things, or is this a different? Are you approaching it differently with a different engine?
So no, I mean our core engine is in C++.
Okay.
Some of the tools that are exposed to the outside communication, they're in C sharp, and we do have also an internal scripting language called HeroScript, and
Hero script. I liked
that's
it.
the scripting language that allows for basically everything to manipulate everything on what you see on the screen through networking and server management as well.
Okay, so all the rage the last week has been, hints of GPT-4. What 5-6 days ago, OpenAI released ChatGPT. I'm curious how AI and this type of content production is going to impact the metaverse. It seems like we're going to have maybe non-player characters that are going to be extremely intelligent, that are going to be AIs walking around. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Have you played around with any of this yet? And what are your thoughts in terms of its implications this coming year?
Um, I think I haven't played around myself, but the thinking on our side is that the more tools you have, the better.
Mm.
The richer the experience that you can create, the better. I mean, even with phone, some of the phone services, sometimes you don't even know if you speak to a real person or to AI. Um, to have a real person always guiding you through your experiences will probably be too cumbersome, complicated, maybe even expensive. So AI definitely has huge potential in that. But more importantly, I think, is when we have the crossover between the entertainment part of the metaverse and also the what we can do. Like we were talking to one potential client, and these guys are saying, "Look, so I want to create something that is sustainable, something where I can also do what we call serious games in that environment, which means maybe simulating some of the processes that I'm running in real life." And that's where I think AI really has a huge opportunity to step in, whether you are creating a smart city that is running a digital twin in a metaverse that helps you to optimize your traffic, optimize your pollution, optimize many of the city management tools, all the way through really boring from an entertainment point of view, really boring tasks like managing your infrastructure and things like this that are currently very difficult to do. So I believe that AI has implications on all the sides, not only the entertainment side.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because if because we're basically talking to this AI now. I mean, they just crossed 1 million users, I think, today in 5-6 days. Um, we're
Amazing.
basically talking to an AI and asking it all kinds of questions. It's basically our oracle, right? We're
Right.
asking it its opinion on what we should do about ABC, and it's giving out extremely thoughtful answers. It's sort of an interesting corollary to a Google search.
Think about it as kids of the future, or even already today, as you are saying, right? That they are going to use AI instead of their teachers to answer their questions, right? Because yes, their teachers have studied and they are professionals in some subjects, but they might not have the same depth of understanding of some of the parts of the curriculum, especially if it is just a little bit outside of the core, right? So having AI and creating those kind of, call it gamification of education type of experiences will be perfect, because all of a sudden, I look at my kids, they learn a lot through watching YouTube videos, which are explanatory, right, in nature. They're trying to simplify some of the difficult things, whether you're looking at physics, math, or any kind of science, or even the latest developments, right? So I think AI has huge potential on that side. We even had, in the earlier days, we had a similar kind of idea we were planning to develop with Watson. You
Right.
remember how Watson was, how big it was supposed to become, right? We don't know what really happened there, but the idea was really Watson could source all that knowledge, and obviously based on probabilities of whatever answers, they would provide you with certain answers for a specific subject or question.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe our AI overlords can help us with this next question, but it's I'm very curious about the combination of the interoperability between these metaverses and the incentives for the game makers and for all of the for-profit companies that would normally in a Web 2 paradigm want to keep everyone in their silos and keep them super engaged so they make more and more money and extract as much sort of rent or cash out of their users as they possibly can. But that world is shifting, right? And we're going to have interoperability. We're going to have to figure out mechanics so that people can still make money as entrepreneurs and businesses can thrive, but users have this way of moving assets around. How do you think that this is all going to go down? I'm really curious what this is going to look like.
Yeah, so I think this is the biggest difference in terms of paradigm shift between Web 2 and Web 3, right? It's the ownership culture. So currently you have large, whether it's game publishers or social platforms, they own your data, they own, and when you buy, for example, a digital asset within a certain, whether you buy skin in a game or anything like this, you really are stuck to that specific game. You cannot take it out. It's not something that if the game publisher decides to shut down the game, that you can carry on and have it as your collectible at some point, 20 years down the line. It will remind you of some really great times you had, and at the same time, maybe somebody else would appreciate it as well if you needed to. The large publishers, when they invest billions of dollars into creating those games and experiences, they are expecting to receive a return, right? To build a big franchise game can cost you between $100 and $500 million.
Right.
So you're not expecting the public to pick it up. That's why from a get-go, right? So you are creating subscription models, you are selling skins, and you're doing all that stuff inside the game in order for you to get a return on that investment. The more we move into Web3 world, the more the ownership is going to shift, and it doesn't have to be 100% of ownership of a specific product, but the ownership, it will shift to the players, so players will be able to use some of that and keep those assets. We see also some of the larger NFT collections, like you mentioned Yuga, and with their great NFT collection, although it did lose some value due to the market correction. But if you had a great following behind your collection, you built millions of followers, it's the easiest way to bring them into some kind of interactive experience instead of just having it as a collectible. That's where the other side game in general, the idea, or the other side metaverse idea came from. But there are so many other collections that have built large following, and those followers, they are now looking for use cases of what they have in their wallets, because just sitting on it and looking at its value, it's not fun. So we see a much higher participation from those collection owners in actually in the creation of those experiences, whether they will be a Kickstarter type of idea, right, where they can bring this in, or it can be also them simply becoming the audience or the potential players of those games.
So if I were to think optimistically, then for in terms of the consumer, right, the gamers, the people who want to spend time on these metaverses, it hopefully, if we're able to figure out interoperability standards and move in between different blockchains or whatever, it hopefully will just be I can, if I have a sword or a gun or an avatar with certain armor or a shirt or shoes or whatever I like, or my car, hopefully, optimistically, I can bring that to whatever metaverse is willing to participate in that, and the game makers and the metaverse makers are incentivized to want to interoperate because they want me to bring all my stuff in, and then maybe they can sell me stuff. Very similar to going around IRL to different shops or different stores or different cities. If they're going to attract me with their skiing or with their surfing or with their whatever I'm into, then I'm going to do commerce, the sort of like the tourism economy. So I wonder if the tourism economy is going to be analogous. Whoever creates the best experiences in this sort of multiverse is going to be able to attract users and then extract some kind of rent or some kind of commerce from us to just make it better for everyone. Is that how you see this going down, or am I way too optimistic there?
I think so. Yes, and no. So the yes is definitely capability of using what you own. Right, you bought an avatar on a third-party avatar creation website, so you are not linked to any specific game. Then you got skins and everything, and you like it. So why not be able to use it in a game or metaverse? So if you have that capability of crossing between different experiences, that's exactly the platform that we're building. Having capabilities of moving between different worlds, also multi-chain capabilities will allow you to bring those items from different chains into the same environment. So you don't have to yourself get involved in trading, swapping, and thinking of how to deal with those. At the same time, also, I do believe that we should not try to commercialize everything, because I think that's what killed GameFi. Too much commercialization in a way. That your traditional gamers and people that just want to be there because their friends are there, they just want to hang out, right? If you put a price tag on it, or if it costs you several tens of dollars to get in, plus you have to go through complicated wallet, buying some not well-known token in order just to participate, that is going to be difficult to build big audiences. And I think these barriers are the main reasons why we do not have a huge adoption. Too much commercialization. I mean, as a tradition, if you ask any traditional gamer, they're not playing there to make money. They're playing there to have fun and to hang out with their friends.
Yeah, that's right. So what are you most excited about then in Web3 and the metaverse and what you're building? Like what's in the 1, 2, 3 year horizon? Like what are the things that you're pretty amped up about?
So what I'm the most excited is actually creating that bridge. When you started talking about metaverse, so the NFT collections and somebody else has been building experience, we have capability of creating a real creator economy. Sorry for using creator, but really bringing people with multiple skills onto the platform where they can express themselves. Whether you are good at creating 2D art or a 3D object, or you can program, or you just want to hang out with your friends that have built this. So as part of the platform, we're actually creating a community platform as well, which will focus specifically on the creative individuals across different types of art, let's say, that they can bring in, at the same time providing them with relatively easy, you can go really deep and very complicated technologies, but at the same time, also you can build some simpler experiences. So bringing that together, expanding the usage of tools into not just your traditional or professional game developers, but building a much larger audience. That's where I think we will see over the next couple of years a big change. And then the participation from different people through collaboration, right? One of the biggest advantages of our platform is real-time collaboration. So similarly to if you and I were working in a collaborative environment like Google Docs, and we start writing something, I see what you write, I can add additional content or start changing, all happening in real time. That is, imagine blowing that up to a full three-dimensional multiplayer environment. That you see everybody in that environment, whether they're a player or they are a developer, and you see the changes happening in front of your eyes. That's the type of technology that we're providing, and that's where we think that's how the metaverse is going to develop as well. Although maybe it's not going to be called metaverse, or these are going to be chunks of it, but we will start with some experiences and then we'll start adding them, but adding them in real time. So we don't have to kick players out to upgrade to the next version or the next additional content, but it's actually is going to grow in front of your eyes, more or less like internet was growing, although you had to go to a specific website to see the content.
So if I understand correctly, then the people that should come build with you, your goal, if I were to state it, would be to have multiple projects using your same technology, because they'll have the Web3 components and the interoperability built in. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
100%.
So all these new projects. What's that?
I couldn't have said it better.
Wonderful. So all these new projects spinning up, and this is timely because I'm working on a project called Alfie right now, which is meant to be community journalism across multiple technology, like all these NFT projects that are coming up. And the Alfies is going to have this fun lore component to it. And Alfies are going to be responsible for reporting to the community what's going on in these different communities. So if we had a partner, and it sounds like this is you, who is saying, hey, if you're going to build into the metaverse, you're going to build up these teams, we know the person to talk to. Okay. So with that, where can people find you? Where can people learn more? Where can people reach out and continue the conversation?
Yes, so we just relaunched our website. Although if you go there, sorry if there are a couple of things that are being adjusted in real time as we speak.
Nice.
MetaEngine.gg for good game.
Nice.
And there is a contact form at the bottom of it. You can sign up directly, or you can find me whether on LinkedIn, Alex Shalash on LinkedIn, or just reach out through the website. Would be the best and the easiest way to manage. And we will be launching, as I said, not only the game development tools and technologies, but at the same time communities that are going to be focused on specific parts or they're just fans of specific with some interests that will be building together. So we are really looking at the whole thing is as our slogan, build bigger and better. So, but it's actually built together. I would say it even more important.
Wonderful. Alex, this has been a great chat. Really appreciate your time.
I really appreciate your time, and thank you for great questions. Hopefully we continue this at the later point.
Would love that. All right, take care.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
All right, a couple quick things before you go. Number one, I have a general newsletter where I write about technology and startups and health science and teaching people to code. And I write about a variety of different subjects that we talk about on this show. So if you go to wclittle.com, there you'll be able to subscribe, and you'll also be able to subscribe to particular topics. If you're just interested in one or a few of them, you'll be notified right when I publish new content in those areas. Number two, my partners and I at Proto Ventures have a portfolio company called Startup Rocket. If you go to startuprocket.com, there you'll be able to receive coaching guides and customize an operations framework for you and your team and your advisors to be on the same page in terms of what is the appropriate next step for you and your entrepreneurial journey. And finally, if you wouldn't mind leaving a review anywhere that you have listened to this podcast or watched this podcast, it'd be super helpful to help those who might be interested in consuming this content as well. Thank you.